Okay, good afternoon. This is recording number 1, and this dictation is for your preparations for the writing of chapter 4. Please take note that this is just a sample, and I'm only going to include parts of the actual transcription, and I will only do one emergent theme for this sample. So let's begin with the transcription. This is where the coding of your transcription and the building of your emergent themes will begin. As you can see, I have included one interview question and the responses of the participants to that particular question. Okay, so we have 5 participants for this sample. It's P1 until P5. Now, please take note that I did not include the transcription of the probing questions, nor did I include the answers to the probing questions. I am here to demonstrate how statements and responses are coded, and I would like to make it quick. So, I only placed the actual responses to the main interview questions. Okay, so again, as you can see, the sample above is only a sample transcription for a sample interview guide, and this is not a full-length transcription because I believe that including the actual transcription is a waste of time. Anyway, to proceed with the preparations for chapter 4, we begin with the coding of the participants' responses to the interview questions. Now, please take note that we are going to transcribe the responses per interview question. As you can see here, this is for one interview question. All the codes must be transcribed, or all the responses must be transcribed per research question, and then simply include the probing questions here and the additional responses to the probing questions. For the purpose of this sample, let us say that the interview question that I have placed here is interview question number 1, and that the responses that I have attached are the responses of the participants to that question. Now, the first step is to code your responses. This is after you have transcribed the actual response of the participants. Now, to begin, coding follows a 3-step process. First, after you have transcribed all the responses of your participants right here, you're going to read through their responses, which means you are going to read all the responses from the answers to the main questions up until their answers to the probing questions. Again, to save time, I only included the responses to the main questions. But in the actual transcription, you are going to read all the responses, including the responses to the probing questions. After you have done so, when you are done reading the entire response, you are going to assign a general statement that will help you summarize the responses of the participant to that question. This general statement must be done per participant per question. Again, per participant per question, which means if you have 5 research questions and 10 participants, that means that you are going to have to assign 50 general statements for your entire transcription. This must be done. Okay, step 3, the last step. The assignment of general statements must be done for all the questions. Okay, you know that you are done with this step when all the questions and all the responses have been assigned at least one general statement per question per participant. One thing to note though is that when you encounter general statements which are similar to one another, that is perfectly fine. Okay, there are moments when you are going to encounter responses which are similar to one another. Therefore, there is a big possibility that the general statements that you are going to assign to these responses will be similar to general statements which have already been assigned to other statements from other participants. Some frequently asked questions in this particular step. Question 1, Sir, why is there a need for us to assign a general statement? Okay, the answer is because these general statements are what we now refer to as your code. Okay, now to follow up, Sir, why do we need these codes? Because these codes are the actual building blocks of the emergent themes for chapter 4. The next question would be, Sir, what's next? Okay, what's next is magko-coffee break lang ako sandali. So, mag-mental health break din muna kayo.
Dar, maghugas ka ng plato.
Yes, be. Ihugas ako yung maya-maya. Wait lang, nagdi-discuss pa ako. Coffee. Okay, sorry. Yes, kailangan ko maghugas ng plato after this one. Anyway, sige, back to the topic. Once we are done assigning the general statements, okay, it will look like this. So as you can see, this is just a sample, but this sample is based from this one, this table right here. So, once you're done with coding, your transcription will somehow look like this. The participant response will be in the left, and then the code will be found at the right side. I have taken the liberty of assigning the codes myself for the sake of speeding up this discussion. Okay, so for statement number 1, or for participant number 1, response number 1 to question number 1, the code is being dependent on others. For participant 2, the response of this participant to question 1 has the code difficulty in doing tasks without parents. For participant 3, question 1, the code is adjusting in terms of time and budget. For participant 4, question 1, the code is change in lifestyle. And lastly, for participant 5, response to question 1, the code is being dependent on parents. Okay, from here on out, this table is going to be our reference point. So after all these codes have been assigned, we are going to proceed to the emergent themes. Okay, so how do we build the emergent themes? Let's start with the codes that you have assigned to the responses. Step number 1, look at all the codes per question, which means if these are all the codes for question number 1, you're going to read through all of the codes. Step number 2, you're going to identify which among these codes are similar to one another. Remember, similar does not mean that the codes use the same words. Similar in this context means that the thought of the codes is somewhat the same as the rest of the codes for that question. When I say that the codes are similar to the other codes in that particular question, I mean look for the majority. Okay, which of the codes are similar and do they constitute the majority of the codes? In this case, if there are 5 codes, look for the codes which are similar and identify whether they constitute the majority. So, step number 3, once you are done identifying the similar codes, assign a general statement once more that will summarize the thought of these similar codes. Okay, let's use this table as an example. As you can see, there are 5 codes. Okay, and from the 5 codes, the similar codes are code 1, code 2, code 4, and code number 5. And because there are 4 similar codes out of 5 codes, that means that they constitute the majority. So, what do we do after that? Once we have identified the similar codes, which is step number 2 right here, okay, we are going to proceed to step number 3. from these similar codes, we are going to assign yet another general statement that will summarize the thought of these similar codes. In the context of this sample, let us say that the general statement that may be assigned to these similar codes is this one. Okay? Being dependent on other people. Sir, why is that a similar code? Because it is the thought of code 1, code 2, code 4, and code number 5. Now, sir, what is the significance of the general statement that we have assigned to the similar codes? The significance is that this general statement, being dependent on other people, is now your first emergent theme for chapter 4. Okay? Here. Now, for those of you in MCM, when you refer to your research manual, there are other themes found underneath. This is just for exercise purposes. As you can see, theme number 1 or emergent theme number 1 is being dependent on other people. Now, how do we answer the results portion? You are simply going to give a general idea as to what responses may be found inside that particular theme. For transcription codes, you are going to include or you're going to place there the location of the statements made by the participants. You may be confused, sir, what's P, Q, S, and what are the numbers? Okay, let's break it down one by one. Break it down. Wiki. Okay. P1 means or refers to participant number 1. Q1 means question 1. S1 to S2 means sentence 1 to sentence 2. Let's go back to your original transcription. As you can see, I have placed there S1 and S2. This means that this is sentence number 1 and this is sentence number 2. Okay, so how do we interpret this code right here? Oh, by the way, note, transcription code is different from response code. Okay, so transcription code refers to the location of the response, but the response code is the summary of the participants' answers to the question. So this one, when interpreted, means that the answers or this particular result may be found in the answer of participant 1 to question 1, specifically in sentences 1 until 2. That's the same for the rest of the other transcription codes. But this time, it's participant 2, question 1, sentence 1. Participant 3, question 1, sentence 1. Participant 4, question 1, sentences 1 until 2. And then P5, Q1, S1. Okay. For supporting RRL and theory, you are simply going to place there the author and the year of the related literature that may be used to support the result right here, and also the name of the theory that best describes the behavior of your participants under this particular result. Okay? That being said, all you really have to do is repeat the process for the rest of the transcriptions, assign codes per participant per question, look for the similar codes per question, assign a general statement, and then place another theme right here. Now, before this discussion ends or this dictation ends, it's best to remember the number of questions found, the number of interview questions found in your interview guide will somehow be the basis for the number of themes that you will be assigning inside your chapter 4. Okay, so that would be all. I will have a separate discussion for the sample chapter 4 that I will be writing just for you. That being said, class dismissed. Bye-bye.